My phone calls are pretty weak. I think we're just processing through some stuff.
Hello, everyone. And today we are talking about Sister Wives Season 18, Episode 11. I had to put in that clip of Kody talking about having weak phone calls because it's true. Like, I don't think there's anyone that has weaker phone calls than Kody. I'm actually under the impression he can barely use a phone at all. That is what I have figured out these last few seasons. But let's go ahead and start talking about this episode. The show starts with a confessional that has Christine talking about Kody and Janelle. And honestly, you guys, it was kind of a weird little thing because it didn't really go into what happened next. It was sort of like there was just a moment of Christine talking about Janelle and Kody. But basically she says that the issue with Janelle and Cody's relationship isn't actually, the issue's not their relationship. The issue is the relationship Kody has with Janelle's children. Like, it's not going to work if he doesn't work on those relationships. And it's just a really short clip that is thrown in there before it switches over to Christine's house where she is there with her children. Mlkelti and Tony are over. They're visiting. They're there to tell Isabel that Mlkelti is pregnant. So they're there to share the news that she's pregnant. Isabel is the only person that doesn't know at this point. So they tell Isabel, but then they pull out the ultrasound and they share some really surprising news that the rest of the family doesn't know either. And that is that Mlkelti is having twins, which is, super exciting. I mean, pregnancy is exciting. Twins, even more exciting. So everyone is congratulating her. And Mlkelti ends up saying that she felt like she knew beforehand. When she was told she was having twins, she wasn't surprised. But Tony was completely surprised. He was really, really shocked. It's sort of funny to watch him talking about it and his facial reactions, like how he responds with his face when he's talking about it. Then things take a turn and the music is very ominous and the show moves over to Utah. That is when Meri appears. She says that not too long ago, it was her and Kody's 32nd wedding anniversary. She adds that for the last few years, anything that they have done for their anniversary has been out of obligation. Kody doesn't even call her on her birthday. So this year, about halfway through the day, she decided to finally pick up the phone and give him a call. She hadn't heard from Kody at all at that point, so she decided to just do it herself. So she calls him and says happy anniversary and that maybe they should go for a drive or out for dinner. And he responds by saying that he's watching the kids and that he needs to check with Robyn. I am in absolutely no way surprised that that was Kody's response. He does not want to go and spend time with Meri. He was going to be looking for any excuse possible. And that is pretty much what Kody says during a confessional. He pretty much confirms the fact that he was looking for a way out if he decided he didn't want to spend any time with her. I want to throw in a clip, though, of Kody talking just in general about their anniversary, and I want you to listen to what he says.
When Meri called me and asked me if we were going to do anything for our anniversary, I just said, well, I'm watching the kids.
Okay, I just wanted to put this in here because I really want to know what you guys think. You heard him say her, and then he said our anniversary. I do not believe that that was a slip up. I think he intentionally did that. I think he thought it through. He wanted to make it clear he wasn't interested in that day at all. It was her thing. I think it was intentional, and I just want to know what you guys thought. Anyway, Kody makes up this excuse and he gets off the phone with her, but he calls her back and says, hey, Robyn said it's okay, right? We can go out and we can have dinner. But Meri says things did not go as planned during the dinner. She said Kody actually made a reference about faking relationships. And Meri said she had no idea what Kody was talking about. So Kody gestured with his fingers that he was talking about the two of them. Kody ends up explaining what he means, but instead of me telling you what he said, I'm going to have Meri tell you what he said because I want you to hear the way she says it.
But we're not meant, and he paused, and then he goes, but we're not living as a married couple.
So that was Meri saying what Kody said. When he was saying we're not met, and then he stopped himself and said, we're not living as a married couple. Just another Kody Brown slip up. Just another thing he's almost saying before he stops himself. Again, I just do not believe this was a mistake. It was not an accident. He's way too contrived. He did not make a mistake. He was trying to pretend he was accidentally saying something, and I'm not falling for it. I think he deliberately does this. Meri acts like she's completely surprised by this, though. Meri says she can't believe Kody's saying we're not married. Meri actually says hearing him say this was a realization to her, and that she didn't know that he felt this way. And again, all I've got to say, and I've said this, I think every video that I've made talking about Meri, is what kind of denial is this? Like, this is so intense. I feel like everyone who's ever watched the show knows that he is over his marriage with Meri, except Meri. She's either really, really in denial, or she's flat out clueless and just does not pick up on anything. I think he's been really clear that he's not interested in a marriage with her. I understand that she might not be ready to leave, but I was really shocked that she said she couldn't believe he was saying that they're not married. What are you talking about? He said this over and over again. He's not interested in this. The only thing that would make this make sense to me is if he was calling her when the cameras are off and trying to, reel her back in and trying to say romantic things to her. But I don't think Kody does that. Not based on the things he says and the things that Meri says herself. So I'm just really surprised that Meri is saying it's the first time she's heard this. Kody has a confessional where he says that right before their 25th wedding anniversary, he was in such a bad place with her, and they were fighting all the time. Meri didn't want him to come over and stay at her house. Counseling wasn't working for them. He says he just kept trying because the other wives were encouraging him, but there was a point he just knew it wasn't going to work, and he sort of gave up at that point. Of course, there's two sides to every story, and Meri says that around that time, she did ask him if they could just take a break, but she says Kody keeps saying that she kicked him out, and it's just not true. She said she never moved any of his stuff out. She never told him that, she was over their relationship or not to come around. It sounds like, in my opinion, she was wanting some space. Things were really getting hard between the two of them. She wanted some space, but Kody, he really wasn't interested in working on it, so he took what she said and then ran with it. But let me know in the comments what you think about that. I just thought that was interesting to hear them both talking about it. So yeah, let me know in the comments. After the discussion about the past, Meri starts talking again about what happened during the anniversary dinner. She says that Kody told her this.
I have no desire, Meri, to have a relationship with you.
It's kind of wild to hear Meri talk about this because she's acting like she has never heard any of this before, but I feel like it's been discussed on the show. On the other hand, I do feel for Meri. She was still hopeful that the relationship would work. She had called Kody. He ends up coming and having this anniversary dinner with her, and then it goes south. I mean, clearly this was a heartbreaking dinner for her, but just to hear her acting surprised is always so weird to me. I'm going to put a link down in the description box of another video I made where it focuses on Meri and Kody's relationship. It's very short, but there are some clips there where Kody was so clear about how he wasn't wanting a relationship with Meri anymore. The show then switches back over to Christine's house. It is still the scene that was at the beginning of the show. So it is Christine, Truly, Peyton, Isabel, Mlkelti, and Tony. They are all there, and Mlkelti shares with the family that she will not be having a home birth this time because of her being pregnant with twins. Mlkelti is going to try, though, to have the same doctor that Christine had when she gave birth to Truly. Christine is really excited to hear that because she says that she really, really liked that doctor. And Christine also says that she'll support Mlkelti no matter what she chooses to do, whether it's a hospital birth or a home birth. Christine says that she had a good hospital birth with Truly, but she also says she had wonderful home births. So Christine's good with things going either way. Christine does bring up that many polygamists don't want to go to the hospital because they fear that their children might end up being taken away from them. They also don't put the fathers' names on the birth certificates for the same reasons. Basically, they're hiding from the system that they think works against them. They think, the government and the hospitals and, police officers. It's all a part of a system that doesn't like polygamy, so they are trying to hide their children away from that. Now, even though Christine used to have those fears, she doesn't anymore. But we find out during this part that Janelle never felt that way because she wasn't raised a polygamist. So she has no issues with hospitals and always put Kody down as the father of all of her children on their birth certificates. After this, the show switches over to Robyn's house, and we actually see the inside of her house. Truly and Isabel are over there visiting, and Kody and Robyn are having a birthday party for Truly because Truly is going to be turning 12. Now, I just want to remind everyone that earlier in this season, Kody said that in order for the girls to come over, they had to take COVID test before they could visit. And no one is talking about that anymore. So do you think we've just moved on and he's let go of all of that? Or do you think that's still an issue and they're just not bringing it up? I feel like if it was still an issue, like if he was still having them take tests, they would have told us. But it's like it's just not brought up anymore. So let me know what you guys think about that. During this part of the show, there ends up being a confessional with Robyn, and she talks about how this is the last year before Truly is a teenager. She also says it's important that all of Kody's kids feel comfortable and safe in her house. She says it seems like Isabel and Truly had a good time at the birthday party, and then of course she does some crying.
Truly doesn't have any memories without me and my kids. Sweet. Yeah.
I guess it wasn't a real cry. It was like a sort of cry. It does go on a little bit further, but there's no way I'm ever going to get past copyright claims if I try to stick around for Robyn to shed a real tear. There ends up being a confessional with Christine where she says that Isabel still lives with Maddie and Caleb. Now, I have to tell you guys, I was confused because I thought she had already moved back. So I thought she had already came back to Utah. So I think maybe I'm getting that from social media. She is back in Utah, but at this part in the show, she's still there with Maddie and Caleb. I don't know. It's not really a huge thing, but the point is Isabel is visiting right now, and she is visiting at Robyn's house. And Kody talks about how some of the kids don't seem to trust him anymore, and he feels like Isabel is uncomfortable when she comes over to Robyn's. Now, there ends up being a clip of Isabel talking, and she agrees. She says it is sort of uncomfortable and that her relationship with her father hasn't always been solid, and now with the divorce, everything is rocky. I have to tell you, this is probably the most interesting part when it comes to Kody for me in this episode, because he starts talking about his goals for his family. He wanted them to all live together. He wanted one house and one family, but he is starting to question that now. Maybe he should have never wanted that at all.
We might have been more successful had we been in different homes with the kids kind of growing up like they were cousins.
One of the things that makes it interesting is what Kody just said right there. He says maybe that's what they should have done the whole time, lived separate and it would have worked out. But to me, it's when they really began to separate that they started to truly fall apart. I mean, at the end, not all of the kids were growing up as siblings, and those kids aren't close. They're the ones that have severed relationships. So it's weird to hear him say that, because to me, I feel like the exact opposite. Maybe he shouldn't have pressured them to all be in one house or even have encouraged that at all. But I do think when they were living on the cul-de-sac, things weren't nearly as bad as they are now. And don't take that as me saying that they had good relationships. I don't know that I think these people ever had good relationships. But I think things got worse as they moved further apart because it seemed like they were less of a family. During this part of the show, there's a lot of throwback clips. Kody talks about when they wrote the mission statement and how clearly that didn't work, and now he has to try to redefine himself. He also talks about how he was a man of faith, but he has struggled because he's always been a polygamist. So he doesn't fit in with his old religion anymore, but he doesn't fit in with other faiths. He also says he would be embarrassed if he had to go back to his church in Utah. There was a part of me when he was saying he was a man of faith, but he struggled because he was a polygamist. I really thought it was going to lead into him saying that he didn't want to be a polygamist anymore. And I think we're leading to that. Like, if I had to predict like what will be happening at the end of this season, or what we're going to see at the beginning of the next season, I think we're going to hear Kody Brown just completely say he is not a polygamist anymore. That is my thoughts based on this episode. You guys let me know what you think. During this part of the show, we do find out that Maddie is no longer talking to Kody.
I do not know what happened, but during the breakup with Christine, Maddie stopped reaching out to me.
So Maddie stopped reaching out to him, and we know Kody Brown ain't going to reach out to his kids. Remember, he has weak phone calls. So clearly this isn't going to get better anytime soon. Janelle goes on and adds a little bit more to this. She says that Maddie isn't talking to Kody because of his behavior. Janelle says that Maddie has to think about her children and their stability. So she is considering who she wants to be a grandfather figure in her children's lives. And all I can think is that it's really serious to say that about your parent. To say, I don't know if you can be a grandparent to my children. That's a big thing. So I don't think this is something that Maddie is taking lightly. And I don't think Kody is going to pick up the phone and try to work on it with her. So this just sounds like another lost relationship in Kody's world. I also just want to point out that he couldn't leave Christine out of that. He had to say it happened during the breakup with Christine. Literally, nothing about this involved Christine. It didn't need to be brought up, but to Kody it does. I'm sure he's blaming her for all of it. Kody continues on. He talks about how relationships have changed within the family. But have you guys noticed that he seems more calm than he used to be? Like if you were to go back to like season 16 and season 17 at the beginning, he was always so angry and his face was so red. I'm at a point where I really believe that he is on blood pressure medication. The show then jumps over to Janelle, and she is at Garrison's house. You know, Janelle loves to garden, but right now she lives in an apartment. So her kids are all over at Garrison's, and they're making a spot for her to do her gardening. They're helping build some planter boxes. And during a confessional, Janelle talks about how things are with Kody right now. She says she hasn't actually seen him at all since the birthday date. And she says at this point, there's no connection left. And honestly, you guys, she seems really okay with the whole situation.
I don't think he even really thinks about me very much, to be honest with you. He's got a whole life going on over at Robyn's house.
And I think she's right. I think he is over at Robyn's with his small children, and that's what he's focused on. He's in a house that he likes living in. So I don't think he's that concerned with Meri and Janelle. I think Kody's just fine. During this part of the show, we also get a little update about Gwendolyn and Garrison and Gabe all moving in together. We find out that Gwendolyn has changed her mind. She's decided not to. Christine had actually thought it was a bad idea. She just thought they were too different and they all hadn't lived together before. So maybe it's for the best. I'm just going to throw it in there in case it's ever brought up again. But Gwendolyn's not going to be moving in with Gabe and Garrison. During this part of the show, there ends up being a confessional with Janelle, where she talks more about the relationships with the other wives. She says she hasn't really spoken to Robyn and Meri.
No, I haven't really spoken to Robyn or Meri since that conversation on Robyn's porch about a year ago.
If any of you thought this family was still, holding it together just a little, I think that right there just shows how much it's all really over for them. Janelle hasn't talked to them in a year. She doesn't seek them out. They don't seek her out. Janelle says Robyn was just so much younger and her kids were younger. They didn't really have a lot in common. They weren't going to be friends. But she says they did work well when they needed to together. They were good teammates in the family. But when it came to Meri and her just had different personalities. And, the truth is, Janelle seems okay with it. It doesn't look like she's holding a grudge. She doesn't express any anger about it. She just says that Christine and Christine's kids are her family now. During this part of the show, the property is brought up. Janelle says that she would like to have greenhouses out there on Coyote Pass, and she's going to be really happy if the property has ever paid off. But honestly, at this point, no one is actually saying anything at all about it to her. And then there's a confessional with Kody where he says that they are for sure going to pay it off, and Janelle is pestering him like crazy, but she's not actually offering to help. So there's clearly a little bit of conflict there, though it wasn't brought up a whole lot. He says that she's not helping pay for it, but we know that Janelle has worked the entire time she's been married to Kody. Like, she contributes to the family. So I'm wondering if she's just like, I'm done. I've contributed. Now, how are you going to pay it off? It's your turn to figure it out. That is what I'm thinking is happening. But I know a lot of you have way stronger opinions about the housing and the money. Go ahead and leave those down below because I am interested in what you guys think. Of course, Kody threw in at this point that him and Robyn are still planning on building out there. That didn't surprise me at all. There is a part of me that thinks he is just waiting for everyone else to leave. Like, I have wondered that a few times. This show ends up changing direction at this point, and it switches over to Truly learning how to ride a bike at Christine's house. Truly still doesn't know how, and I'm saying still because this issue has been brought up on the show before. There was an episode many seasons ago where Kody tried to teach Truly. He got very, very frustrated. Truly was really, really upset. It was just a bad experience. But they are trying again because she is getting older. She might want to go out and ride her bike over to her friend's house. She's 12, you know, there's a time you try again. I'm going to put a link to the video I made about Kody teaching her how to ride down in the description box if you want to watch it. But in this episode, she has Aspen, Peyton, Mitch, and Isabel trying to help her, and they are not frustrated, and they are very supportive of her just getting comfortable on the bike. So this ends up being a much more positive experience. In the end, she still isn't really able to hop on the bike and ride, but I think just getting more time sitting on a bike and even like pushing it with your feet is helpful. So it's just a much more positive experience. And Christine really emphasizes during this part of the show that here in Utah, Truly has a lot of support.
It's everything that I wanted for her to have. She's surrounded with people that just love her and love spending time with her all the time.
Then there is this intense music, and the show takes us back over to Meri. Meri says she thought that the commitment that Kody and her had made to each other would mean something to him. She also says Kody says that he never loved her, and she doesn't believe that, and neither do I. I think Kody really loved Meri. I think things happened. Wives joined the family. Things got complicated. I think there was catfishing. I think there was a younger, new wife in the end. I think things just happened, but I don't think what Kody's saying is true. I think Kody loved Meri when they first got married. I think this is just him trying to excuse his behavior. And Meri actually agrees. She says the same thing. It's just an excuse for his behavior. What I do think is sad, though, is it's like Meri is just hanging on, and he has decided to move on to the new wife. It's almost like forget Christine and Janelle. Imagine that Meri was a monogamous person. It was just her and Kody. They were a monogamous couple, and then they decided to divorce, and he went ahead and got a new wife and got a new family. But she just is not letting go. That's almost what it feels like, but you add in this whole additional layer of it there being other wives and polygamy. But it's just like Kody's moved on and Meri can't. Meri says that basically Kody is telling her that she can just stick around if she wants to. Like, she can just hang around the family and hang around him and Robyn if that is what she would like to do. But Meri's not sure that's what she really wants.
But I'm like, but why would I want to do that eternally?
Yeah, basically we're all thinking the same thing. Why would you want to stick around for eternity? It has been hard to watch Meri stick around this long when it's clear that Kody doesn't want to be with her. Now, during this part of the show, she shares that she has wanted to go public with this, and then Kody in the past has told her, you know, don't share this with people. Let's keep this private. I already have so much criticism. And I was really confused because when she was talking about that conversation, it made it sound like it was during the anniversary dinner, like this current anniversary dinner. But we know from the tell-alls that a very similar conversation happened during the Rice Krispie anniversary year. He had told her then that he didn't want to share it publicly. So I don't know if she's talking about like a conversation from that year or if he has actually told her 2 times not to go public with it. But Meri is not listening to him anymore. This is what she has to say now.
This is my story too. And I have the right to tell my story.
It seems like Meri is feeling a little bit more bold and a little bit stronger, so it's going to be interesting to see what she shares during the next few episodes. I really do hope there is a bit more between the two of them than what we've been seeing so that we can better understand why Meri stays. But that is it for this episode, you guys. Let me know what you thought in the comments. And if you haven't already, go ahead and click like and subscribe. I hope you come back next week for more Sister Wives talk.